I just finished reading The Brilliant Abyss by Helen Scales, and man, was this a very, very interesting book. We're going to talk about it, and of course, this is going to be spoiler-filled. We're going to talk about that book in just a second. Before we do, though, I do want to say hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's talk about this book. So, like I said, I don't know really what drew me to this book initially, because I was looking through all the books, because I read on a Kindle, guys. I was looking through, like, what to download, and I was always interested, like, I'm a little bit weird because I'm fascinated by space, and I'm also, like, just as fascinated by, like, the deep sea, because that's kind of essentially, like, the same thing as space. We know very little about it. We know space. Honestly, we might know less about, if you want to talk about, like, of course, if you're going on and, like, trying to think about things that are, like, at the end of the universe, we might know, like, less about, like, what's deep within our Earth. That's why, like, the deep has always been so fascinating to me, and it's always been very scary to me. So this book was about somebody who actually went down on some missions to explore and research the ocean. She went down to as I don't know exactly, like, I don't remember any of the feet or anything, but as far as you could go humanly to explore, study microorganisms, and study, like, anything that has been down there. So I found that very fascinating. And this book throughout it, and, like, I wish I could, like, recall specifically the amount of little fish for you, but it was fascinating learning about how much exactly we don't know. You know what I mean? There are so many, like, okay, we found this fish and we don't know why it does this. Like, there were so many things where they could tell us a little bit about different types of creatures that were down there, and then it would just breed more questions, you know what I mean? But it's like, well, why can they survive at this pressure? Or why did they thrive down here? Why did they breed down here? And, like, there were so many different animals or different snails or different types of fish, different types of sharks that they were studying and exploring throughout this. And I absolutely found it fascinating. And it's just about her entire journey of, like, how it was just being in the depths of the ocean, what it was like down there. And you even get to stuff like how, like, to sleep or what everybody was like down there, how long they were down there for. So it was, most of the book, it wasn't like, I usually like reading books where, like, I really, really learned something. And I found myself learning a lot throughout the depths, but I didn't necessarily take in, like, a ton of information, because the majority of the book was about, like, different creatures that were down there and different things that they studied. I found myself learning about it in the moment and going, wow, that is so interesting. But I didn't really, it was so much, like, different kinds of animals and species where I was like, I wasn't necessarily taking that information back. So if you're somebody with, like, a really good memory or just remember completely what you read, this book is definitely for you. Regardless, I don't regret reading it at all. I'm just saying, like, it was more of I enjoyed listening to her experience about being down there and, like, okay, I was studying this fish at first and we were exploring this much and I was down there for so long. You know what I mean? So that was the first part of the book. And to be honest with you, that's what I found the most interesting, because the second part of the book was more about talking about how we need to preserve the sea and how it remains untouched. Like, you know, like, there's the Treaty of the Antarctic where nobody is allowed to go there. Nobody's allowed to do research. You know what I mean? Nobody is allowed to go have war there or build any bases. The book was arguing that you need something along those lines for the deep sea, because different governments around the world are trying to explore the depths of the ocean and necessarily trying to ruin the life down there. So that, I wouldn't say I'm, like, educated enough to really speak on this, but to be honest with you, the book makes a very, very good argument for it. And I'm not gonna, like, talk about, like, here's the thing, like, I don't like talking about climate change too much, because first of all, it's a very touchy subject on YouTube, and secondly, I don't know how you guys are watching this right now, but it would be nice if, like, we could clean up the earth. But I'm kind of the opinion, like, it's where, okay, let's say we're doing a good job, you know what I mean? I'll use Canada for example. Like, if we're having some plastic straws, that doesn't help anything, you know what I mean? You need, like, a collective world agreement to start helping the earth. So that's where I'm, like, of the opinion where I just kind of shake my head at it, and it's like, why am I drinking from a paper straw when it means absolutely nothing? Just as much plastic is going into the oceans, you know what I mean? So the second half of the book was arguing a lot where we need to just protect the ocean, started talking about, like, waste going in the oceans and how much species are dying. So that was interesting to hear, but at the end of the day, I'm one of those people who kind of just like, well, what can you do, man? There's nothing you can do to stop it. So this is stuff that we already kind of knew was happening. So I definitely liked the beginning of the book way more, where I was learning about, like, the different types of fish down there. And it brought a little bit more touch to it, because we care a lot about, like, animals being hunted, but we don't care about all these fish that are being grabbed in nets and drowning and being smothered against each other. You know what I mean? So it dives into all of that, where it's like, I already kind of, like, felt bad for the fish, but maybe, like, a reader who isn't like me in that sense would definitely appreciate that. So I don't know, make of that what you will. So I would say, like, there's two really big parts to that book, where it's like, we need to care about the ocean, we need to protect the ocean, because honestly, guys, the human species are a virus. We're horrible. Everything that we do is horrible. We do nothing but destroy everywhere we go. So I understand the argument where it's like, okay, we need to protect the deep sea, and I'm on board for that, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. So when I was reading this book, I was absolutely captivated by looking through Helen's entire journey going down to the depths of the ocean and studying all these different animals and learning about how they reproduce, learning about what they eat, learning about like this and that about them. I was fascinated, captivated by it. I love learning about the deep sea. And maybe, you know what? Maybe next up I'll read a book about space. Who knows? But guys, this book was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed myself. Nothing made me pick it. I was just looking for books about the deep sea, and there's one. So I chose it. I read it. I was very glad I did. It was great, guys. Let me know if you've read this book, and let me know what you think down below about it if you have read it. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you'd like to continue watching the Clenema channel, where we take a look at different books, TV shows, things that I watch, 2 videos will be on screen right now if you'd like to watch either of them. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you either there or in the next video. Take care.